Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Yashodanandana Brajajananjana Yashodanandana Brajajananjana Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vadachari Yamuna Tira Vadachari Yayurada Madhava Kunja Bihari Yayurada Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Swami Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Ananta Kori Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishaki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, Text 32. Yada ite sangata bhava bhutendriya manoguna yada yatana nirmane nashekur brahma vittama yada ite sangata bhava bhutendriya manogunaha yada yatana nirmane neshe kur brahma vittama yada ite sangata bhava bhutendriya manogunaha yada yatana nirmane nashe kur brahma vittama
Yadaite sangata bhava Bhutendriya manogunaha
Yadayatana nirmane Nashekur brahma vittama
Yadaite sangata bhava Bhutendriya manogunaha Yadayatana nirmane Nasekur brahma vittama
Yadaite sangata bhava Bhutendriya manogutana Yadayatana nirmane Naseka brahma vittamaha
Yadaite sangata bhava bhutendriya manoguna yadayatana nirmane nashekur brahma vittama
Yadaite sangata bhava Bhutendriya manoguna Yadayatana nirmane Nashekur brahma vittama
Yadaite sangata bhava Bhutendriya manoguna Yadayatana nirmane Nashekur brahma vittama
Yadaite sangata
Yadaite sangata bhava Bhutendriya manogunaha
Yadayatana
Nirmane Nasekur Brahma Vittama
Yada, as long as, ethe, all these, ashankataha, those being, bhavaha, remain so situated, bhuta, elements, indriya, senses, manaha, mind, guna, modes of nature, yada, so long, ayatana, the body, nirmane, in being formed, shekuhu, was not possible, brahma vittama, O Narada, the best knower of transcendental knowledge. Translation by Srimad Prabhu. O Narada, best of the transcendentalists, the forms of the body cannot take place as long as these created parts, namely the elements, senses, mind, and modes of nature, are not assembled. Please repeat. O Narada, best of the transcendentalists, the forms of the body cannot take place as long as these created parts, namely elements, senses, mind, and modes of nature, are not assembled. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
The different types of bodily construction of the living entities are exactly like different types of the motor cars manufactured by assembling the allied motor parts. When the car is ready, the driver sits in the car and moves it as he desires. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 1861. The living entity is as if seated on the machine of the body. The car of the body is moving by the control of the material nature. Just as the railway trains are moving under the direction of the controller, living entities, however, are not the bodies. They are separate from the cars of the body. But the less intelligent material scientists cannot understand the process of assembling the parts of the body, namely the senses, the mind, and the qualities of the material modes. Every living entity is a spiritual spark, part and parcel of the Supreme Being, and by the kindness of His God, for the Father of mankind, to His sons, the individual living beings are given a little freedom to act according to their will, to lord it over the material nature. Just as a father gives some playthings to the crying child to satisfy him, the whole material creation is made possible by the will of the Lord, to allow the bewildered living entities to lord it over things as they desire. Although under the control of the agent of the Lord, the living entities are exactly like small children, playing the material field under the control of the maid servant of the Lord, nature. They accept the Maya of the maid servant as all in all, thus wrongly conceal the supreme truth to be feminine, goddess Durga, etc. The foolish childlike materialists cannot reach beyond the conception of the maid servant, material nature, but the intelligent, grown-up sons of the Lord know well that all the acts of the material nature are controlled by the Lord, just as a maid servant is under the control of the master, the father of the undeveloped children. The parts of the body, such as the senses, are the creation of the Mahatattva, and when they are assembled by the will of the Lord, the material body comes into existence and the living entity is allowed to use it for further activities. This is explained as follows. Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadam Mukam Karoti Vachanam Pangum Yantayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Mante Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Vishwaram Namavo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I am utterly unqualified to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. The blessings of Hari Guru Vaishnavas. Hope to be able to speak some things from understanding. Please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong anyway. So this is a verse from the 5th chapter of the 2nd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a discussion between sage Narada and his father, Lord Brahma. So as an inquisitive child would ask his father, so Narada Muni, for the benefit of all mankind, so he's asking these questions to Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma is explaining this for our benefit, to understand who is the purpose behind, who is the creator, the purpose behind the creation, and how the whole creation happens. So the Puranas, there are 5 important topics in the Puranas. So they are Sargascha, Pratisargascha, Vamsho, Manvantaranicha, and Panchalakshanam. So the Puranas have 5 important topics. So that is Sarga, that is creation, and Pratisarga, the secondary creation, and Vamsa, the lineage of kings who rule the whole planet at different times. Then Manvantaranicha, all the different Manus who are ruling at different times. And Vamshava Charitam Cheti Purana Panchalakshanam. The Charita, the descendants of all the great kings who have ruled over the planets and what are their great activities. So these are the 5 different topics of the Puranas. So in the first one is Sarga and Pratisarga. So creation and secondary creation. So here what we see here in this part is the description of the creation part. How the creation happens. And the secondary creation is taken over by Lord Brahma. So this question of Narada Muni is very important. It highlights how the Supreme Lord is actually the real creator. So as popularly understood by the Indologists and the Hindus alike. So they think that the creator is Brahma. And they think Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Trinity, so they are equally powerful and they are equally capable of doing things. They have their own dominion. And so nothing like supreme. So, but here, all those such misconceptions are clearly shattered by Lord Brahma. So Narada Muni's questions are very interesting. So let's go back to these questions in the beginning of this chapter. Yeah. This is from text 2. My dear Father, please describe factually the symptoms of this manifested world. What is its background? How is it created? And how is it conserved? Or basically the Srishti, Sthiti and Pralaya, the creation, the maintenance and annihilation. And the next question that we asked is, under whose control is all this being done? And that's the second part of the question. So, my dear Father, all this is known to you scientifically because whatever was created in the past, whatever will be created in the future, and whatever is being created in the present, as well as everything within this universe, within your grip, just like a walnut. And he has some more questions. So what is the source of your knowledge? Under whose protection are you standing? Under whom are you working? So what is your real position? Do you alone create all entities of the material elements or your personal energy? So the questions can be grouped into three different groups. Group one is, so Narada Muni's questions are, who is the cause for the creation, maintenance and annihilation? And the second part of the question is, he wants to understand what is the source. If you are the creator, he already has some doubts. He's expressing his doubts in the 7th verse of this chapter. Let's see the 7th verse. Yes, we are moved to wonder about the existence of someone more powerful than you when we think of your great austerities in perfect discipline, although your good self is so powerful in the matter of creation. So here, Narada Muni is expressing some doubt. So I see, Lord Brahma, that you are, everybody is glorifying you as a creator. And I can understand from what I hear from others also that you are the creator. But have you created all of these things by yourself? Are you supremely powerful and independent to create everything by yourself? I'm expressing this doubt because I see that you are meditating on someone. You're thinking about someone and you're performing austerities. So that really indicates that there is someone beyond you. There is someone more powerful than you. So very intelligent observation by Narada Muni. And this is very interesting. So this is also true with Lord Shiva also. People generally worship Lord Shiva to be the all-supreme personality. So more than 80% of the people, if you take the Hindu people. So because they think that Lord Shiva is very powerful because he's meditating. So they don't know why. So if you ask them why you're thinking Lord Shiva is supreme, well, he's fully into meditation. So because there is a sense of renunciation that is exhibited by Lord Shiva. So he is completely renounced, he sits in the smashana or the graveyard and he is completely given up everything. And he's wearing snakes as if someone is living in a forest. Right? So people have some kind of an attraction towards people who are renounced. So because they always have a feeling of guilty because they are enjoying, they're trying to enjoy all the time. And if they see someone very renounced, oh, he's a great person. So that is what happens immediately when you see Lord Shiva. So it's someone who is very detached, renounced, sitting in a graveyard. He's got a snake around his neck and is meditating, fully poised on meditation. So immediately it evokes a sense of appreciation, a sense of feeling great about personality. So no doubt about it. Lord Shiva is a great personality. But what is a mistake that people have is they don't see that he's meditating. So meditation means he's meditating on someone. So there must be someone beyond him. And that Lord Shiva explains in Padma Purana in the very same way as Lord Brahma will explain now. So he says in Padma Purana to his wife Parvati that I am actually meditating on the Supreme Lord. Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnum Aradhanam Param. Tasmat Paratam Devi Tadiyana Aradhanam. So worshipping of the Supreme Lord Vishnu is the highest. He declares it to Mother Parvati. So people have to understand, we have to understand through the scriptures. Otherwise just going by what we see from pratyaksha, from our eyes, from our senses, can be misleading. It can give us the wrong information or take us to a wrong conclusion. So that's why we have to do proper understanding of the scriptures under the footsteps of the great acharyas. They have given us the information. So let's see from the footsteps of Narada Muni. So he's asking this question, so which can be grouped into three things. One is, first he's asking, who is the cause of creation, destruction and maintenance? And number two, I doubt that you are the person behind it. So give me the information, who is the source of your knowledge? So if you're not the person, there's somebody who's giving you those powers, who's giving you the capability to do all of these things. So who is the source of that? He wants to know that. And the third group of question is, how how does this creation happen? Does it happen by you're supervising over it, or something happens? So that is a three group of questions. So then Lord Brahma is going to answer one by one. The first he likes to answer, he smiles at Narada's question, because he has made the observation that he is meditating. So he immediately wants to clarify that or dispel that particular doubt. So he goes to in the 9th verse, says, "My dear boy Narada, being merciful to all, you have asked all these questions because I have been inspired to see in your prowess of the Almighty Personality." So Lord Brahma, being a great, most perfect person, nobody can become Lord Brahma unless he is the most perfect person amongst all the individual souls. So he is the most perfect person because he is elevated all the way from the bottom. So he is an ordinary soul, does pious activities, goes to the heavenly planets, and doesn't get bewildered by the different pleasures available in heavenly planets. Continues to do the same pious activities, and then goes to the Maharloka, Apoloka, Janaloka, then comes to Satyaloka. Satyaloka, he becomes the Lord Brahma. So you can imagine, he is someone who has traversed all the way from the bottom to the top. So he is the most perfect person. And even the nectar of devotion, Prabhu would explain that Lord Brahma has 77% of the Lord Krishna's qualities. So he is the most perfect living entity. So Lord Shiva is not a living entity per se. He is a separate tattva of his own, Shiva tattva. So he is neither a living entity nor is a supreme, not a Vishnu tattva. The Shiva tattva is of its own class. It's not a class of the soul, neither it's of the class of the Vishnu. So he is the most perfect soul in this Brahmanda. So there are different Brahmandas, which also is explained beautifully in the Bhagavatam. We all know the story of Lord Brahma being summoned by Lord Krishna, and he comes and knocks at the door of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna's, one of the attendants of Lord Krishna comes and asks, "I am Brahma." So then he goes back to Krishna, he says, "Brahma has come." So Krishna asks him, "Which Brahma?" So he goes back and asks him the same question, "Which Brahma are you?" He's surprised. "I thought I was the only Brahma in the whole universe." Then Lord Krishna summons all the Brahmas, then he understands how great is Lord Krishna's creations. That is Brahmanda Koti. So there are Koti and Koti, there are crores and crores of millions and billions of Brahmanas there. So Brahmanda Koti, Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Nayaka. So Lord Krishna is addressed as one who is the Nayaka, or the leader, or the creator of all the billions and billions of Brahmandas. So Brahma already has a good experience of this, so he doesn't make that mistake. So it's very clearly coming to the point. And he also he appreciates Lord Sage Narada's prowess. Because Sage Narada is an Saktya Vaishnavata. He is an empowered incarnation who has come to explain bhakti, who has come to preach the message of bhakti. So he says that I have been inspired to see into the prowess of the Almighty Personality of God. So prowess. So Narada is actually the prowess, the Shakti, the Bhakti Shakti of the Supreme Lord. So the 10th shloka is very beautifully explaining that whatever is spoken about me is not false. It is a partial truth. Because unless and until one is aware of the personality of Godhead, who is ultimate truth beyond me, immediately answering the question, the third group of questions, is there someone beyond you? So he's answering the question that above me is the personality of Godhead. And he's going to explain who is the personality of Godhead also. Who is the ultimate truth beyond me? What is should to be illusion. So anybody who is very temporarily is illusion, he doesn't see the real truth. Because there are symptoms of truth available for everybody. So, but people do not see beyond, because of the covering of the illusion, they don't see the hints towards the truth. Just like as the material world is there. The material world is dukkale vashashvata. So we can see sufferings everywhere. If you open the newspaper, there is suffering everywhere. There are so many people subjugated to so many kinds of different suffering. But as long as one is in a comfortable situation, we don't think it's going to happen to us. Or we think it's a wonderful world. So we don't see that something is waiting to happen, and we also going to run through a bad patch of life. So they don't see the reality. So same way, people are illusioned. They don't see beyond the immediate truth that is available to see. So it's very easy for such people to take to Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva to be the Supreme Person. But Narada was not someone of that kind. So you can see beyond illusion. You can see that there is somebody beyond Brahma. So Brahma wants to clarify that the first thing. That there is a Supreme Personality of God just beyond you. And He is the cause of all causes. That is going to explain to you. And the further verses. So it clearly explains the next verse. I create after the Lord's creation by His personal influence. So it gives a very good example how the creation, secondary creation happens. For a layman to understand. So he says, just like the sun is the source of light, and all other luminaries, including the moon, the stars, all other luminaries are just reflecting the sun's light. So, the same way, the creator is actually the person, the Supreme Lord. And the secondary creator is me. I'm just like one of the luminaries who is just reflecting the light of the sun. And it's very beautifully, he's giving a good analogy of how the Lord is Supreme Creator. And he also says, he praises obeisances to Lord Narayana. I offer my obeisances and meditate upon Lord Krishna, Vasudeva, the personality of God, whose invisible potency influences them to call me the Supreme Controller. Then he goes on to explain how Narayana is beyond everything. Narayana Paraveda Devo Narayana Angajaha Narayana Paraloka Narayana Paramaka. So Narayana is above all creation. He is above all created. So this is very beautiful also. So Lord Brahma is, when he gives this benediction to Hiranyakashipu, so Hiranyakashipu asks, I should not be killed by anyone created by you. So immediately Lord Brahma smiles. He knows that I'm already saved by this situation. Because the Supreme Lord, who is not created by me, is the creator of all creators. So that's why the Lord Nrshimha's incarnation and Prahlad Maharaj, it is said that Satyam Vidatum Vidam Richabritya Bhashitam. So Lord Nrsimha Dev, he appeared in order to make truth of the two promises made by two of his devotees. So, who was the one of the devotee? Prahlad. And the second devotee is Brahma. Because Brahma made this promise that you will not be killed by anyone who is created by me. Lord Krishna had to think through all the promises made, and he has to find a way to kill Hiranyakashipu. So that's a very beautiful thing. And Prahlad also mentioned that yes, the Lord is there in this pillar, so you have to make that also promise also come true. Satyam Vidatum Nijabritya Bhashitam. So that is not to make both of these true, Lord Nrsimha Dev incarnates. Because he always wants to make sure that even though his own words are proves falsified, his devotees' words are never proves falsified. That is in Bhagavad Gita also. Who knows the verse? Krishna says, he says that declare to the entire world that my devotee never perishes. So because he wants Arjuna's word to prevail over his own word. Because he might give up on his own word. Just like Prabhupada gives an example of, he breaks the vow when he takes up that chakra in order to kill Bhishma. So Bhishma, he tells in the whole assembly of gurus that he promised to Duryodhana that I'm not going to lift any weapon. But when it came to a situation that Arjuna was not really fighting to his best capability, and he was looking at his Bhishma as his grandfather, not really fighting with his full capability, he lifts the weapon in order to prove his own words false. So he is capable of doing that. So he can break his own promise. But he will not break the promise given to his devotee. He can break the promise given to Duryodhana that he is doing it. But anything that Arjuna said, he will not break. So that's why he is telling, Kauteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashati. My devotee never perishes. So he will definitely protect them at any cost. That is crucial. So every yuga, actually Nrshimha avatar happens in Satya Yuga. Brahma gives different set of, so every yuga is not the same. There's a Kala Veda. So every yuga has a slightly different story, slightly different situations. So that's why if you go to India, so there are at least 2-3 places where it is said Lord Nrsimha Dev came. So there is one in South India, a place called Hobilam. You might have heard that. So there's a pillar on the hills, and it is said that from this pillar Lord Nrsimha came. And there's also a place in Uttar Pradesh where it is said that Nrsimha came from that place. And there's a place you might all be knowing in the Navadip Mandal Parikrama also. There's a place where Lord Nrsimha washed his hands as soon as he killed Hiranyakashipu, right? It's called Nrshimha Palli. So, like that, so there are different places. You might get confused. What is this? There are so many different places. How can Lord kill Hiranyakashipu in South India and then come to East India for washing his hands and come to this place? And it's all very confusing. So that's the truth is because the different yuga, there are slightly different pastimes. So just like Prabhupada mentions in Acharyas, we understand in this particular incarnation, the Supreme Krishna, Goloka Krishna, he comes personally. And then he does Rasa Leela and all these different pastimes that he does in the Vrindavan. All beautiful, sweet pastimes. But not in every Krishna Leela that happens. In all, another Krishna Leela is just Krishna comes, he kills the demons, and goes to Mathura, kills Kamsha, and then he starts ruling in Dwarka. So that is the normal Krishna Leela that happens. But in this Krishna Leela, as Acharyas confirm, he does all these beautiful, sweet pastimes with the gopis, with the gopas. So that is the original Krishna, coming from the Goloka. The same way, in different yugas, Lord Nrsimha also incarnates in different way, and there are slightly different details. So Lord Brahma has to give different benedictions also in different yugas. And Krishna has to think through all those benedictions, process it, find out a loophole to come and kill. So that's what happens. So in this yuga it is Nrsimha Avatar. So all merciful Nrsimha Avatar protects all his devotees. So that way, so Lord Brahma goes on to explain the primary creation, how it happens. And he explains how the so first what happens is he explains about the Purusha incarnations. How Lord Mahavishnu, he comes over and lies in the costal ocean. And from his pores, all the different Brahmandas, they come. And each and every Brahmanda, he expands into one Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And then from the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, the navel comes, and from the navel, Lord Brahma comes. So that's a short story. But in this short story, there are so many details. And here there is a glimpse of those details, but that's further covered in the Kapila's instructions. So it's called Sankhya. Sankhya means how the division of the matter happens to the lowest level. And so there is also in Darshana, one of the glimpses of the Vedanta called Sankhya philosophy. And that was propounded by Kapila. But this Kapila is not really the original Kapila. The original Sankhya philosophy comes from Lord Kapila, who is the incarnation of Krishna. So this Kapila is an impersonator Kapila. So he has taken over some of the aspects and he has made an atheistic Sankhya philosophy. So the atheistic Sankhya philosophy also the elements creation is there. But that's prevailed over by the nature. The nature prevails over the creation. And so that's the atheistic philosophy. So it doesn't acknowledge the Supreme Lord who is the primary creator, who is actually giving birth to the nature itself. So these two things are very nicely explained. So first the Lord brings forth the material nature. Material nature is external energy, Bahiranga Shakti. So that is his shadow. Chaye Vayeshta Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga. Ichhanurupam. So it is his external energy which acts out of his will. The Lord has a supreme free will. So here the purport also Prabhupada mentioned that since we are part and parcels of the Supreme, so we have a minute freedom, whereas the Lord is supremely free. And this external energy, Mahamaya, so it has the will of the Lord. It executes the will of the Lord. It's the energy of the Lord. So first, his gunas are created. The gunas comprises of his nature. Material nature is comprises of 3 gunas. And in order to manage this gunas, later he would create the guna avatars, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. And he himself becomes Vishnu to control over the Sattva. So in this way, the gunas are created first. Because somebody has to do the creation, which is execute the will of the Lord. And before the matter itself is created, somebody who will create as per his instructions has to be created. And that's this external energy, or the Mahamaya, or the Durga Devi. So Durga Devi is the Ichcha Shakti. So she creates the energy of the Lord. She creates further creation. And also she controls this everything. All the gunas. So the Mahatattva is the first entity that is created. So that is a homogeneous and uncleaved material energy. It's a homogeneous. It does not have any divisions. It all looks the same. It's one homogeneous entity called Mahatattva. So then Lord glances over the Mahatattva and he impregnates the material energy into it. And then, just like the father impregnates the mother, the same way, so the material matter is impregnated into the material energy of the Lord, the Durga Devi. Durga Devi is the mother, so he impregnates the material matter into the material energy. Then what happens? And everything is slowly follow the process is executed by the will of the Lord. So first the gunas acts over the Mahatattva. The gunas acts over the Mahatattva. It all becomes separated out. So there are 24 elements that is described here in the Mahatattva. So we all know that 24 elements. So what are the 5 material Panchabhutas? The 5 material elements. Bhumir, Apo, Nalo, Vayu, Kham. 5 material elements are there. So the gross material elements called Panchabhutas. And then there is subtle elements of mind, intelligence and ego. Right? Buddhi, Manas and Ahankar. So these 8 elements is there. So it's 5 plus 3. And further the gunas act on these 5 material elements. It leads to other things. And there's a whole Narayana Upanishad that describes how this whole creation happens. From where what happens. So the first thing to be created is the ether. So ether is the most subtlest of all the gross elements. So you all know ether. So people think it's vacuum. It's nothing, but it is a material element called ether. Ether is a space. So when we understand, a good example to understand this, so let's say you're boiling rice. So you're boiling rice, you need rice, for example. And you put water on the top of it. And then you put the fire. And but what happens is, if there's no space to expand, the rice will not boil, right? The rice will not become soft and something that we cannot consume. So you need the space. So the earth, air, fire, water, and the bhumi, rapona, vayu, come. They all need space. First, the space is created so that everything can further become have its own space and time, its own space to occupy. So from the come comes air, the air comes fire, from the fire comes water, and from water comes finally the earth. And all these things is associated with the other element called tanmatras. So the earth comes because of the tanmatra called as smell. And the same way the air comes because of the fire comes because of the light, and the air comes because of the fragrance, and we have the touch by the space. The same way all of this Shabda, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, and all of them are covered by this 5 different Mahabhutas. And then, once you all this is created, then you need to have the Indriyartha, or the object of the senses. Those are created next. And after this, the Buddhi, we already covered the 5 Mahabhutas, 3 elements, 3 subtle elements, and there are 5 of the the Indriyarthas. And once this totally covers about 17 or 18, and after that you have this 5 Panchendriyas, the Indriyas means the senses, which has to be created next. Because the living entities cannot enjoy these material elements without the senses. The senses is a prerequisite for the living entities to take place again, before that. So after these material elements are created, then the Indriyas are created, the senses are created. And there is Karma Indriyas. Although you have senses, you cannot enjoy those sense objects without this Karma Indriyas. So those Karma Indriyas are created. So that makes the soul 24 elements. So this all starts with Mahatattva and then it ends up in this 24 elements. So this is a prerequisite before the soul can be brought in. So as we all know, on the end of the day of Brahma, all the souls go and put in a dormant state in the body of the Mahavishnu. And then the day starts for Lord Brahma, all these souls have been brought forth. So they cannot be brought forth until this primary creation happens, until these 24 elements are created. So only after these 24 elements are created, as we see in this particular verse, the 22nd verse. So what is the use of all these elements? Unless you create a body, right? So body is the vehicle, is the yantra rudani maya, as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna as Paramatma is sitting on everyone's heart and is driving Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Yantra Rudani Maya. He is driving all the living entities according to their desires. He reminds them of their desires. Desires is there. In the previous life they have so many unfulfilled desires, because of which they are born again. So those desires have been fulfilled. So who reminds them of those desires? It's a Paramatma sitting in the heart. And so before the desires can be fulfilled, the body has to be created. Before this body can be created, all these 24 elements has to be in place. That's what is primary creation. The secondary creation of Lord Brahma is nothing but is bringing forth these different souls and creating the bodies, so that they can be put in these different bodies, so they can continue to pursue their desires. So the thread which is in all of these things is Paramatma. So as you can see, at the time of creation of the Brahmanda, he goes and sits inside every Brahmanda. And further, inside the Brahmanda, he expands into Shirodakshaya Vishnu, or Paramatma, in each and every atom of the universe. And he holds everything together. Without him, everything will fall apart. All this Mahatattva will remain Mahatattva. But because of Paramatma there, and he's supervising over everything, the whole creation process, even though the Mother Nature is going through the process of creation, who is making it happen? Who is letting it happen? So that is Paramatma. Upadrashta Anumantascha Partha Bhokta Maheshwara. So he is the Paramatma who is supervising and who is letting it happen. Anumanta, who is permitting it happen. So that is, he is an observer, but he is a cause, behind a cause. And so all this creation happens, and all the subsequent creations taken over by Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma brings forth from his Manas, the Kumaras first, then he brings forth Narada. Narada is the second. All the Kumaras are first created, and they all become Brahmacharis. And Narada is created, he also becomes Brahmachari. Must be very frustrating. Because he has to fulfill his purpose. His purpose is to create, is to bring forth all the living entities. Everybody becomes Brahmachari, there is no creation. Nobody to populate the world, nobody to give the bodies for all the souls to inhabit. So, and then, Lord Brahma will describe further about the creation. But I would stop here. If there are any questions or comments on this?
Question. Somebody behind you or you?
No, you.
Okay. I might have heard wrong, but I think I heard you say that Lord Vishnu impregnates the material matter into the material energy, or did I hear wrong? Because material matter and material energy are identical. Impregnates the souls in.
Yeah, material energy, I mean the Prakriti here. The Prakriti is different from matter.
Prakriti is matter. I don't see the difference. What is the difference?
The Prakriti is the one which predominates the matter.
That's Purusha. Purusha predominates.
It controls the matter, in a sense.
I don't-
Prakriti and matter are two different things.
Prakriti and matter. Why is matter different from Prakriti? In Bhagavad Gita.
It's a part of the, it's all a separated energy of the Lord.
Yeah.
So we have the Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tatashta Shakti. Tatashta Shakti is the Jivas.
Yeah.
But everything, the external energy, matter is also part of the Prakriti. Yes, I agree with you on that point, yes. But it is still different. It is Achintya Veda Veda, right? So it is still, there is further declination, there is further
It's
divisions of that.
further developed, but I understood that Krishna is the seed-giving Father. He impregnates the material energy with the souls. Otherwise, why have bodies? The souls have to come in.
Correct. We are just
The energy is already his, of course. But
correct. I agree with you that we are speaking the same thing. We're just having two different ways of talking the same thing. So the souls are also impregnated. The matter is also impregnated in the sense matter is acted upon by the material energy. So first he creates the gunas on the material energy. That's there in this verses. And then he creates matter. So the material energy can work on this matter. The gunas can work on the matters so that it further becomes divided.
I never understood it that way. I need you to show me where it says that.
It's there in this verses. Yeah.
In this verse, in this book.
Yeah.
Can you listen?
From the darkness, the false ego, the first of the five elements are created. So he creates the self-centered materialistic ego, thus being transformed in three features, becomes from mode of goodness, mode of passion, ignorance, delusions, namely the powers that evolve the matter. So the matter comes next. The first, the gunas are created. The gunas comprises the material nature.
So the gunas are in the first creation, and it becomes matter as we know it in the second creation.
The matter is Mahatattva. So Mahatattva comes after the gunas. And the gunas act on the Mahatattva and then other things are created. The five bhutas and then the tanmatras, all of them are created after that. So in one sense, if you see, they're all part of the Bahiranga Shakti of the Lord. They are separated material energies. They're part of the Prakriti of the Lord. But within the Prakriti, we talk about the gunas and talk about the matter. So gunas and matter are still different, but they are all put under their umbrella called as Prakriti, material nature.
Prakriti means energy, doesn't it? So
Prakriti means nature.
but in matter, when you analyze it, it turns out to be energy anyways.
Yes, they are all separated energy of the Lord.
Yeah.
Everything is one at one point of time, but then it becomes further delineated. So they are simultaneously one, they are simultaneously different. So in one way, if you see, they are all Prakriti. But further, if you break the Prakriti to further entities, so they are gunas and they are the tanmatras, they are the mahabhutas. So we can further delineate in 24 elements. So it is we're just talking about the detail. But everything, as you rightly said, is clubbed under a term called Bahiranga Shakti, the external energy of the Lord. That's what that also mentions in the one of the translations. Prabhupada brings that point here.
Which verse is it that you read that in? It's not in today's verse. Is it? You were going back?
Yeah, I'm going back.
Okay. That was 24 or 25?
It's in the, I'm talking about 21.
Okay.
Yeah, here it is in the verse 18. Supreme Lord in His pure spiritual form, transcendental to all the material qualities, yet for the sake of creation of the material world and its maintenance and relation, accepts through its external energy the material modes of nature called as goodness, passion and ignorance. they're all clubbed under one external energy. But further, if you go, comes the three gunas and then Mahatattva. So Mahatattva has the further 24 elements.
Verse 23 might be the one you're coming from mostly. First there's a transformation. Knowledge of goodness and passion. Later, due to the mode of ignorance, matter, its knowledge and different activities.
Right.
Of material knowledge.
Yes, Prabhu, you had a question? You had any more?
I guess I got it. Probably
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any personalities that have a similar role to Narada Muni, where like he travels in between the material world and the spiritual world, liberating souls and doing that kind of work? Are there personalities that have that similar dharma?
Srila Prabhupada. Yeah. Yeah. So many great souls, and yesterday I was reading a verse in the Bhagavatam, the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 25th verse. There, it's described. I don't know who is describing it, I forgot. I think it's Maitreya describing to Vidura that he's glorifying Narada as you are the Lord himself. He's calling him Bhagavan because he's a Satyavesha avatar. And so there are so many great souls. I cannot. We can cite some examples for sure. And but there's the best example is Srila Prabhupada. So he's really taken this knowledge from the Indian subcontinent to all over the world. He has really done what Narada has done. And many places he also says in that when he's lecturing, he smiles and he says that Narada Muni is here. He's smiling at me and he's looking at all of you, your white-bodied people, and then you're chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He's smiling at all of you. So it's like that. Narada Muni is personally empowering Srila Prabhupada, and he's always present. They can see. It's like that. So I cannot think of anyone as great as Srila Prabhupada. So definitely he's done what Narada Muni wanted to do in Kali Yuga. He's empowered him, the mercy of Narada Muni, the mercy of the Panchatattva. So of course Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati did the groundwork. So he, in fact, he was meditating for 6 months. He was put a thatched roof, and he was sitting there, I think he was not even eating anything for all 6 months. He was meditating upon the Panchatattva. And after he got the instruction from Gaur Kishodas Babaji Maharaj and blessings of his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that he should start this Gaudiya mission. And before he started the mission, he meditated for 6 months totally. It was raining, he would not budge, he would just still sit there, would just meditate until he got the darshan of all the great, the Panchatattva. All of them they came and then they blessed him. And all the great acharyas, previous acharyas, they blessed him. And he got the blessing and then he started his Gaudiya mission. So he was like I think Atma Tattva Prabhu explains very nicely. So he was almost naked perhaps, was just wearing a loincloth. Then he came out of the meditation after seeing Panchatattva and immediately went. And then he said to one of his servants that, okay, now let's go and start the Gaudiya mission. He's in tattered clothes and he's coming and he's in that mood, suddenly in preaching mode. All this time he was in meditation. Nobody thought he would even survive it. Then he came out and then he told his servant, okay, the time has come, let's start the Gaudiya mission. So like that. So even Srila Prabhupada did the same thing. So he did a lot of tapasya in India. And in one place in the Shantipur, so there is a temple where the head pujari, he recounts that Prabhupada used to come there and he used to meditate and he used to cry there. And he used to meditating and doing all this tapasya so that he can purify and he can execute the will of his spiritual master, that he have to go out and preach. So he did all this tapasya, and that Mahant who is in that temple, he would recount that he would come and he would meditate and cry every day in front of the Advaita Acharya's deity there. And so that's a very, so like that. So all Acharyas did a lot of penance to be able to do that. And Narada Muni also did a lot of penance, right? So he was born as a son of a maidservant, he served all these great souls, and after that he met Lord Vishnu, just gave a glimpse to him. And after the glimpse, he was asked to meditate. So he said, "You are not ready yet, you have to do tapasya." So that is a way to, if anybody wants to purify oneself and be blessed by the great acharyas, blessed by the Supreme Lord, to be able to execute the mission of the Lord. For some, it comes from the birth, because of the previous life they did all this tapasya, and they start off like that. And for some, they go through that, and then they show the example of how one has to do it in order to gain the mercy of the Lord. So they are doing it not for their own purpose, right? They are doing it for the pleasing of their previous acharyas and pleasing the Supreme Lord. So they have, of course, they can be Bhajananandis and they can just go back to Godhead. But they are taking the trouble because that they know that's the inner desire of the Lord, to be able to preach His message to everyone and make them devotees. So they are just executing the will of the Lord. Thanklessly they are doing it. The world is not really, they did not appreciate Prabhupada until he became Prabhupada, right? Until people knew him as Prabhupada. So he had to go through all the difficulties. Nobody was with him. Many times he did it single-handedly. And finally he achieved it because there was will of the Lord, but not without efforts, not without the sacrifices that he had to make. So that's not because of his personal purification. He was personally qualified, he was personally a great man, great Uttamadhikari. He doesn't have to do that for his own purification. But he did that for, just like Jesus Christ took all the sins. So he also had to do that to take the sins of his disciples. I mean, not the disciples, in order to purify the world, to make them qualified to become devotees. So that is his purification. He did that for others. So, like that, in my own personal experience, my Guru Maharaj is doing that. He is going through difficult situations and is enduring all that for purifying many of the followers and many of the people who are wanting to become devotees. So that is the nature of the great souls, to be able to sacrifice for others and to make them devotees, like Narada Muni. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Oh, you did, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Prabhu, any question?
On the Sankhya philosophy and the Kapila Muni, you said like the actual original Kapila Muni and then the impersonal. So is the original one the son of Devahuti and Kardama?
Right.
And who is the other one?
The other one is someone who has taken over the name and then created this atheistic Sankhya philosophy. Just like Buddha also, there is an original Buddha who is incarnation of Lord. He just preached non-violence. He did not preach about atheism or what do you call it, and Shunyavada. So that was taken over by this Gautama Buddha, so who was the impersonator, and he appeared in Nepal. Actual Buddha appeared in Gaya, in the Bihar state. But this Buddha was born in Nepal, so he was the impersonator Buddha. So he used the same name, and then he preached the atheism or Shunyavada. But actual Buddha did not speak anything against Vedas. He just said, follow non-violence. That's all he did. So that is the same way. It's Kapila also. There are people, and it is said if you go to Wikipedia on Kapila, there are so many Kapilas. It's not just the impersonated Kapila. There are about 15 Kapilas, and different types. So, but the original Kapila is the Supreme Lord.
The secondary Kapila was also in our Puranas or somewhere else?
Yeah, there is. It is said they were. Don't quote me on that. But I also heard that he is a disciple of Vyasa. So Vyasa asked his disciples to explain the Vedas according to their understanding. So they came up with these different darshanas.
Oh, okay.
Sankhya, Yoga, Vaisheshika, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. So 6 of them. So Vedanta was compiled by Vyasa himself, but other darshanas were compiled by the other, said to be the disciples of Vyasa. So maybe that Kapila, that Sankhya philosophy was indeed theistic, but later there are so many people who assume different identities and who hijack different identities, and they all gave atheistic view. So what we have here is not exactly what was described by those darshanas, perhaps. So they were all different manipulations due to the different course of time in the Kali Yuga. The people had their own different views added to it, like that. Somehow the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam was preserved by the. So otherwise many things have undergone many distortions in due course of time. So there is especially the Puranas are in many ways that are distorted. There are many Upanishads also distorted to some great extent. And they have added, like there is one Bhavishya Purana which talks about the Christians have added Jesus Christ into it, Muslims have added Allah to it. There are a lot of different distortions that has happened over time. Yes, Mata.
Now I have another question. Because we were taught that this is standard teaching in ISKCON has been that Buddha was, in order to bewilder the atheists, so he taught to not follow the Vedas at all. So he basically did teach atheism. And then came Sankaracharya who brought him back to the Vedas but taught it in a twisted way. And so in other words, to gradually, this is how we presented it, gradually bring the population back. So what you're saying sounds like something different happened. And I never heard this.
Yeah, I mean, you should go back to Prabhupada, what Prabhupada said. Prabhupada did not really give a lot of details of Buddha. All he said is he preached non-violence. And, but the Buddhists are different. So he criticized the Buddhists for being Sunyavadas. And you can look at I'm referring to an article from Srinandanandan Prabhu. So if you go to his website, he has an article on that. He talks about 2 Buddhas.
Srinandanandan?
Yes.
Because maybe I'm going by Satsarup Maharaj, who wrote the book on the Vedic readings in Vedic civilization, I think something like that, reading Vedic literature. They told the history. He presented histories like I just said, and that's what I always thought was.
Yeah, that was correct. That's correct. So Shankaracharya did, because Buddhism became so far and wide and so popular that Shankaracharya came to defeat the Buddhism and established the Monism on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that Buddha is not the real Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
So that the Shunyavada Buddha is different. Because why would the Supreme Lord come and speak Shunyavada? So all he said is non-violence. If you see the Shavatara Stotra, if you see what Buddha did, so he said that all he said is he wanted to stop the Vedic yagyas which were wrongly done by wrong Brahmins to kill animals. In order to protect the animals, he did that. He doesn't say about he preached atheism. So that comes in the further thing. So if you go back to the Buddhas, they talk about it is about 2000 years back, around the time of Jesus Christ, and it will be a little before that. But this Buddha is even before that. Or Buddha. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, I don't know how. Where is your source from this? Because according to H.D. Goswami, the Buddha, Prabhupada says in the purport what she said regarding Canto 1, the list incarnations.
Yeah, this
and
is
also H.D. Goswami, he said that Buddha didn't teach atheism. If you look
he
at
did
it,
or he didn't?
He did not. If you look at his lecture, what they asked him, the followers created an atheistic system, but Buddha did not teach atheism, according to H.D. Goswami, for the research. He actually, when they asked him, is there a soul, he did not respond. And then they interpolated it as, okay, there is no soul. And oftentimes incarnations do preach atheistic things, like we have in, what is that verse? Padma Purana, Uttarakhand 62:31. Lord Shiva is speaking to the goddess Durga, I appear as in a Brahmana form, and I preach the Vedas, I teach the Vedas in an atheistic way. So, we see that verse is there in the Padma Purana.
Yeah, you can search in Prabhupada's writings. So Prabhupada writes Buddha was born in Gaya. Gaya is a state in India. It's a place in Bihar in India. But this Buddha, Gautama Buddha, was born in Nepal. So Nepal is a different country. It's a different state. So there are definitely two different Buddhas. So this is nicely, I'm referring to an article from Sri Nandananda Prabhu, who is a Prabhupada disciple. So he writes very elaborately on this, how they are different, how they have different teachings, and how they are. So one is incarnation, another is an impostor. So he's I'm deriving my information from that. But I'm convinced that because of this, the Prabhupada also writes that Buddha was born in Gaya, or even the Bhagavatam mentions somewhere. I cannot quote on that. So maybe in the 9th canto or somewhere you can search in the
word is Gao, if I'm not mistaken.
Gaya, G-A-Y-A, Gaya.
I'll have to read it again.
Yeah. But this Buddha was definitely not born in Gaya. So everybody understands that Buddha was born in Nepal, Sharmishtu or someplace, I forgot.
Anyway, this is brand new for I think a lot of us. I have to check the sources to validate it.
Yeah, you can definitely please check it.
There's definitely more than one Buddha though,
Right.
but it may refer to a different a different kappa, or a different whatever. So that actually is presented somewhere within Prabhupada's writings in some footnotes, if I'm not mistaken. So whether it's two Buddhas, but one is in this whatever kalpa, and then there's another one, possibly from another one. So.
Yes, Prabhu.
I had a acquaintance who was a Buddhist, and he had gone to Thailand to study in seminary, if you want to call it. And they had a saying, "Why be a Buddhist when you can be a Buddha?" And so the concept is that's the goal, kind of the goal, to be a Buddha. And so there are 5 different, he was telling me there are 5 different paths in Buddhism. And so it's highly possible that this is, so many Buddhas. If, the Dalai Lama's group that is now in India, they did come from Nepal and from that particular...
Tibet.
Yeah.
From Tibet.
From Tibet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it seems like if we're going to discuss this, we need to do some more study.
Yeah, it requires more research, but I would suggest please read that article.
Right.
Two Buddhas, I think from Sri Nandananda Prabhu. I think some of his books are also here. So you can look at his books.
I guess he had his hand up first.
Thanks, Ruth.
Did you have your hand up now?
Oh yeah, because I looked it up online, I was reading. Yeah, Prabhupada said that Buddha did come, and I'll read it here afterwards right here. He said that Lord Buddha had introduced the religion of non-violence by contradicting Vedic sacrificial instructions. Therefore, Lord Buddha denied the authority of the Vedas for the time being. So, I think he said that he didn't say anything against the
Yes,
Vedas.
he definitely said keep the Vedas aside, but he did not preach Suryavada. He did not say there is no soul,
But
no God.
according to H.D. Goswami, the Buddha did not teach there is no soul. The followers have taught many things, and the further followers, have got so many different things. I mean, it's quite, H.D. Goswami goes into this incredible detail. It's amazing how the followers of Buddha have created all kinds of stuff.
Right.
One of them is Gautama Buddha. That is my belief.
That maybe imaginary character, I don't know.
So-
but maybe my understanding, at least from reading Prabhupada and H.D. Goswami's thorough research, is that the Buddhists have created, quote unquote Buddhists, have created something that the original Buddha has said, and that he did not say. But now, whether there's two Buddhas or not, that's a whole new ballgame for me. I'd have to do some.
found another one. Prabhupada is saying, so he is talking about Buddha. He came. He is cheating in this way that yes, there is no God. You hear me? But he is God. So basically he's describing he's God. So he's tricking them to believe in him. So he's tricking the atheists to actually become.
Yeah. Because they were already atheists. He didn't make them atheists. They were already atheists. So it says.
So he was just making.
We need to take everything into, take a sampling here and there and take it.
In summary, that's the theme from my readings of Prabhupada, is according to Prabhupada, Buddha taught this, but, he was God.
Because Prabhupada was talking about contemporary Buddhism, that context, because people are going to say Buddha spoke like this. So he's trying to answer them on those questions. This is a discussion that's happening. So we have to see his writings. That's why there is in the beginning of the Veda base it says how to interpret Prabhupada's works. So first you have to give importance to his writings, his purports, things. As discussions could be contextual. So when there's a discussion happening in order to on a part of the discussion he could be saying something, but don't quote out of the context and make anything. So you have to take everything in proper perspective and take it, understand from his writings, understand from his things. So and also when definitely you can read from Bhagavatam, it says Buddha was born in Gaya. But this Buddha was definitely not born in Gaya. So he was born in Sharmishta in Nepal. You can still find the place where he was born. And it's common understanding. Just go to Buddha and Wikipedia, he was born in this place. You'll find in Nepal. And so that itself points to two different Buddhas. So you can...
Maybe. If
Yeah.
I can just say, it's a maybe, because how, there's so many different names, and this was called then back then, and this is perhaps, and not to mention even with the Bhagavatam, you have enormous apparent contradictions that get resolved by the six Goswamis or whatever. So there's all that too.
One more thing is when Britishers came to India, there is some part of India that actually belongs to Nepal, like Darjeeling and all this stuff. It belongs to Nepal, and later all that became. Britishers conquered all that from Nepal and became part of India. So there is some history on that. Geographical things also we need to probably look into.
It's true, but it's not too much in the far, right? So but Gaya, it's a place from the Puranas. So there is an imprint of Lord Vishnu there. So Gaya is not something a new city that has come up.
It's in
past
Bhagavatam.
10,000
It is in Bhagavatam.
Possibilities are quite a bit, though. And to make that jump just off of that, I personally wouldn't do it. Just something.
I've heard this before.
It's a very topic to research, yes. Yes, Prabhu?
I was just saying, I've heard this before. This isn't the first time that I've heard this. Because this point that you're bringing up, that the Bhagavatam states Buddha was born here, and this Buddha was somewhere else.
They seem,
I don't know.
Yeah, you can look at it. I've seen some in Bhagavatam somewhere, either the purport or in the verse itself, that Buddha was born in Gaya.
this would be a good question to ask H.D. Goswami, since he did a lot of research on it.
And please consult that article also. It's very good, thorough research.
What's the name of the author again? I'm sorry.
Srinandan Das.
Oh.
It's Prabhupada's disciple. His books are there.
Oh,
So-
Stephen Knapp.
Stephen Knapp.
Stephen Knapp.
Yeah, he's up in Detroit.
Oh.
Well, okay. As I've been told from some people, this is not good, I don't want to be incorrect, but some senior people have questioned some of the threats. So, that's one.
Yeah,
At
I've
least
read
that they
that.
shared that to me.
I'm not putting it in stone, but I'm just kind of quoting them.
At least some very senior people have said is that requires. They will say they will put further word search into it before they quote him. At least that's what some people said to me, at least, because I did that, and then I got that response back from other very senior people. So yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying anything wrong. But that's what I've been told.
Yeah. Any more questions or comments? Okay. So we will all look into this topic much deeper. Discuss that another day for sure. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Nice class. Hare Krishna.